God is not offended by sin. Why would that bother him? What hurts him is our reaction to sin and the seeing us suffering. So what Christ has taken on is not God's sufferings, but our sufferings. So if we would stop worrying about the consequences and accept the invitation to transformation, which is a much more profound commitment to God than all the exercises of trying to win God's favor and to pay off our debts. It really is probably a way of trying to get rid of the shame that it comes. So it's the consequences of sin that God cannot take away without certain changes in our way of behavior and so on. But these are not punishments, but necessarily remedies, medication or psychotherapy, as the case may be, to bring us to a capacity to completely surrender to God without a thought of the past or without anxiety of the future. Be totally immersed in God in the present moment and with a hope that's invincible in the infinite mercy of God, which is really the only possession we're allowed to have in this process. To be without sin is what actual freedom is. To be free not to sin is true freedom. But the very word sin is so saturated with these concepts of guilt and shame and horror and justice and so on that you almost need another word. The bottom line is that they're not a factor anymore of alienation. So as soon as we're sorry or regret or start on the spiritual journey or any other significant change in our goals from the ego-centered goals of early life, clears the slate completely as far as God is concerned. He's forgotten about them. He was never interested in them. And if there is pain in God, it's largely our pain because he loves us so much. And so whatever God sees, he is. So whatever we suffer, he is. In a certain sense that we don't understand how this functions. But since Jesus' whole purpose is to reveal the presence and the face, as he calls it, of the Father, it seems to me the very essence of the Christian religion is not a theory of beliefs, but Christ's actual experience of the Father as Abba, that is, as a loving and caring parent who wants to give himself completely to us. And for God to give himself is to give his whole self, because as the unity, he can't change that. So whatever he does he is. And so he's totally involved with our situation and experiences suffering and insofar as we do. So if we could reduce our sufferings, we would be doing him a great favor. And so this might become clearer, and I think this is an extremely central point in understanding Christianity and making it understandable insofar as that's possible to people of our time with a highly psychological, at least in the West, understanding of things. That this is why I've used the term the divine therapy, because the way that God deals with us is highly psychological, dealing both with the unconscious and the conscious, to heal the wounds of human nature, not to punish them or to get some sort of self-centered satisfaction from however you want to imagine it, for his alleged offenses. I don't think you can offend God. I don't think God is upset by anything. Why would he be when he's prepared to give up divinity itself as he did in Christ? So if Christ considered not being God something to cling to, there's no possessiveness whatsoever in God. There's no self-interest. There's no scales to be level. Those are all rational level. So this is why it's so necessary to get people into a practice that could move them beyond the limitations of their reason and their inclination to comment from this level of consciousness on what happens in them and around them and to them, which is definitely childish. Not a sin, but a pathetic lack of growth that needs to be furthered. So I come down more and more on the fact that it might be better to present the human condition as simply unevolved. Mm-hmm. If it has freedom, it doesn't know how to use it, and it's never been given by God the information about what true happiness is. But it does have this longing for happiness that transcends anything available in this world. So it's a transitional stage. And why we're in this transitional stage is something you have to ask God directly. But maybe there's some clues, and this is why I like to discuss symbols that the crucifixion, death, and descent into hell of Christ represents as the most complete revelation of God and the Trinity that there is.